What is up, guys? Stark here. I am fighting through some computer difficulties here to sneak in a character spotlight before the event goes away. And the character spotlight we will be doing today is the 5-star for the Valentine's Day banner, Semiramis. So Semiramis, as I said, is the unit on the Valentine's Day banner, and well, she's one of many units, but she's the new one that came paired with a whole bunch of other servants. And she is a 5-star assassin, and at level 90 she will have 13,266 HP and 11,309 attack. This will rank her 44th overall in HP and 36th overall in attack. As an assassin, she does have really good star generation and star absorption, with 102 for her absorption and 24.7% for her star generation, and her noble phantasm generation on her attacks is going to be 0.39%, and on defense it will be 4%. So Semiramis is a pretty solid character. She doesn't do anything like overly crazy, but she is a pretty solid character in my opinion, and I definitely think she is viable to pull for, especially on the Valentine's Day banner where she is paired with a whole bunch of other servants. So you could just wait for the servant you want and then go ahead and pull for that character along with Semiramis, so you can get kind of both at the same time. For her skills though, she has a decent set of skills. Nothing crazy, but at the same time, some pretty interesting things there. For her first skill, it's going to be the Familiar Pigeon D. This will increase her own Noble Phantasm gauge and also decrease all of the enemy's debuff resistance for 1 turn. So this is really nice. You have a flat increase to your Noble Phantasm gauge, 30% at level 10, and the decrease to the debuff resistance will go up to 50% at level 10 on a 5-turn charge time. So that's pretty nice. Being able to get that flat increase to your gauge will help be able to use your Noble Phantasm faster, and being able to use the decrease to debuff resistance will help with, other effects in her kit and other characters. That's going to be very helpful for that, especially for like dot damage over time dealers and stuff like that. So very good. Nothing crazy, but it is a pretty solid first skill. Her second skill is going to be the Double Summon B, which will increase her Noble Phantasm gain for 3 turns, and this will also apply Trait Change for 3 turns. So essentially what this means is that if you use this skill, she will ignore the class disadvantage that assassins have against casters for 3 turns. So typically casters are stronger against assassins, they do more damage and take less damage. So she will basically just act as if she's not an assassin in that regards, so she won't get any disadvantages from going up against casters, which is really cool. It's a really unique effect that more characters should have, I think, but it is nice to have. It's a really cool thing there, so you can bring her into fights against casters and not worry too much about it. As for her Noble Phantasm gain, it'll be a 40% increase at level 10 on a 5-turn charge time, so that's going to be really nice. Especially with the trait change, you're not going to have too many turns where she will count as an assassin, so those couple of turns, just be careful. But outside of that, for the most of the fight, you should be able to ignore that disadvantage to casters. As for her third and final skill, this is going to be the Alcohol of the Arrogant King B+. This will inflict poison to all enemies, as well as decrease their buster resistance for 3 turns, and unfortunately this will also consume 8 critical stars from yourself. Now, you can't use this skill unless you have 8 stars, so you do have to be mindful of that. But it is a pretty powerful skill, so you're going to do 1,000 HP each turn for 3 turns for the poison. That's nice. But you also do have a 50% decrease to the buster resistance, which is going to be really huge, especially because her Noble Phantasm is a buster card. So you could just lay this on all the enemies and then hit them with buster cards, and then they'll do even more damage, and then you also have that little bit of poison damage ticking away at them. So it's not a bad skill. It's actually pretty good. The only downside is that it does consume those 8 stars. So that is a bit unfortunate. But she is an assassin and she does have high star generation. So getting 8 stars to use this skill is probably not going to be a big deal for you. And you should have plenty of stars left over to use. It is on a 6-turn charge time, which I think is pretty fair considering what it does. So I think that's about pretty balanced. As for her passives, she has 4. The first one is going to be the Presence Concealment C+, which will increase her critical star drop rate by 6.5%. The second one is Item Construction C, which will increase her debuff chance by 6%. Her third one is Divinity C, which will apply damage plus 150. And finally, she has the Territory Creation EX, which will increase her arts card effectiveness by 12%. So overall, I think she has a pretty solid set of skills, and she has a bunch of different unique effects on there. But overall, I will only give her a 4 out of 5 in the skills department. Mainly, there are just that drawback of having to consume some of your critical stars in order to use her third skill. Anytime a skill has a drawback, I really can't give it like 5 out of 5, just because it's a negative effect, and that obviously means that it's not the best it could be. But 4 stars I think is pretty fair there, especially considering that she doesn't really have any sort of offensive boost. She does kind of have it with the third skill, so you're going to be able to decrease the buster resistance, which in turn will increase your buster effectiveness for your team. But she doesn't really have any like flat increase to attack. She is really powerful with her Noble Phantasm and doing poison damage, but overall it's pretty standard, I guess. So 4 stars. Now for her command cards and her Noble Phantasm. So for her command cards, she has 1 quick, 3 arts, 1 buster, and she's got very good hit counts. She has 4 across the board and 5 on her extra attack. And for her command chains, for the most damage output you can get with her is going to be her buster, arts, extra chain. For her Noble Phantasm, it'll be arts, extra, which will give you a 95% increase to your gauge. But I should point out that this is also factoring in her skills. So one of her skills does a flat increase of 30%. So it's really only a 65% increase to the gauge. But if you do use her first skill and do arts, extra, then you will be able to get 95% of your gauge filled. So that'll really be nice. It'll set you up pretty well for your Noble Phantasm turn. Odds are you should have 5% there, either by craft essences or attacks or some other means. So that'll be a really helpful way to go. And for stars, you're going to go with the arts, quick, extra setup, and I'll get you 18 stars, which is nice. Be able to use your third skill and still have 10 stars left over. And this is just from her. You got to factor in other character skills, Noble Phantasms or things like that. So probably not going to use this setup too much, I would think, for getting stars. But if she's by herself or something and you need to generate a lot of stars, then this is the setup you want to go with. As for her Noble Phantasm, it is a buster, like I said, and it'll deal 5 hits and will deal damage to all enemies, as well as increase your own party's defense for 20% for 3 turns. And this will also increase her own Noble Phantasm damage for 1 turn on the overcharge. So this is really nice. It has the potential to do a ton of damage, especially if you have her third skill out, which will decrease their resistance to buster cards. So that'll do some more damage there. Overall though, it's just your basic, damage dealer. It does have a nice little effect with the increased defense as well. It will also get a rank up quest in the future, which will add an effect. So it will increase the buff removal resistance by 100% for all of your allies for 1 turn. So that's going to be pretty big, being able to resist the removal of buffs. There's going to be bosses in the game that will be able to remove your buffs, so being able to resist that should definitely help you beat those bosses a little bit faster. And it will also have an increase to your overall damage as well, so that should be very helpful there. And we are not expected to get this until next year, so I guess it's really not anything we have to pay attention to yet, but it is something that is coming, so I guess, it would be nice to know. Overall, for her damage output, I am only going to give her 3.5 stars. She's really not going to be doing that much damage outside of her Noble Phantasm, which I guess is fine. That's kind of her selling point. But you do have to set it up, and you do have to get it ready. So that, comboed with the fact that she doesn't really have any offensive skills or increase to her attacks, really doesn't give her much opportunity to do damage. So 3.5 stars. For her critical ability, she will get 4 stars. She has no skills for crits, but she is an assassin, so she will generate stars very good. So really, assassins can't get too much lower than 4 stars for crits. Just by default, they have insane stats for crits. Her Noble Phantasm will get 5 stars. It is a good Noble Phantasm, and it's a Noble Phantasm that can be generated very quickly. She has a flat increase to her gauge, and she also has her second skill to increase her overall gain. So it shouldn't be very difficult to generate her Noble Phantasm. She does also have high hit counts on all of her cards. So once again, it's not going to be hard to get her Noble Phantasm charged. And she also does have an arts card deck, so you can do arts chains there. For her survivability, she will only get 3.5 stars. She has no defense, so plain and simple. Outside of her Noble Phantasm, she doesn't offer any sort of support. No invincibility, no evasion, no guts, no healing. So She really can't get anything better than that. For her versatility, she will get 4 stars. She does find her way into different teams, and the fact that she can remove her caster disadvantage is going to find herself being able to be put into more teams. But overall, she doesn't really have a big niche where she can like excel at. She is pretty good in poison teams, but again, that's just one type of team, so it does limit her a little bit. But she does have her 3rd skill, which can reduce the buster resistance, which anytime you could do more buster damage is going to be very good at this point in the game. So points for that, but overall I do think 4 stars is pretty fair. And her overall ranking will also sit at 4 stars. She's a pretty solid servant. Definitely, I hope I don't get too much flack for saying this, but definitely not something you would miss by not pulling for her. But I do think that she benefits greatly from the banners that she comes out on, with the Valentine's Day banner being able to combo her with another servant, where you could just pull for her, hoping to get the other servant that you want, and maybe get both of them at the same time. So as for the banners that Semiramis will come out in for the remainder of the year, I'm going to limit it to just banners for the upcoming year that I make these spotlights. So she will come back 2 different times. And the first one is going to be for the Fate Apocrypha event, which we may or may not get. I do think we'll get it because Achilles is going to come out, and Charon is going to come out, and Sieg is going to come out this year. So at some point, I do believe we will get this banner. It basically rates up all the characters from Fate Apocrypha that's already out. So she's obviously one of those characters. So she should be rated up in that banner along with other characters like Karna, Jack, Mordred, Shiro, Joan of Arc, Vlad. You know, all the characters in that anime that are out will be rated up. So she should make her return there. Now, it is listed as April to May for Japan. I don't know if we'll keep that same pattern. I feel like we probably will. So that's going to be your best opportunity to get her outside of this event. The only other time she shows up in the year will be for the anniversary, for the 3rd anniversary, and only in the Lucky Bag Summon. So this is going to be the paid banner that we'll get for the 3rd anniversary. So you do technically have a chance to get her, but odds are you won't because everyone's in the pool. So you're really going to have to test your luck for that one. But it is possible to pull her. Outside of that, that is the only other banner that you can get her in. So yeah, that's it. Basically just those 2 banners. There are other banners coming out in the future that have her rated up, but like I said, I'm only going to keep it to the ones that are projected to come out this year. So yeah, that's it. Personally, I would say pull for her now, get it out of the way. But if you do want some of those characters in the Fate Apocrypha event, then you could hold off and wait for that. It's up to you. It's up to your banner schedule, what you're trying to pull for, and everything like that. But those are the banners that she will be coming out with. So that's going to wrap up this character spotlight, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I know it's been a while, but like I said, I've been dealing with some really annoying computer issues that I am trying to work my way through. And every time I try to record the spotlight, my computer just crashes, and it's been getting very frustrating. So I just took a couple days off to let my computer cool off, and hopefully this video makes it to YouTube so you guys can actually see it. But that is why the video is coming out so late into the banner. I really wanted to get it out sooner. I want to keep getting these spotlights done before the banners even come out. But sometimes your computer just really doesn't want to cooperate. But anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for watching. If you did like the video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I do have the links below to my Twitter, Twitch, Patreon, and Discord. So feel free to check those out. And I will leave you here with Semiramis' Noble Phantasm. And I'll see you guys next time.
人が触れられぬ天の城塞を見せてやろう。虚栄の庭園、ハンギングガーデンズ・オブ・バビロン、ありのごとくハイモールへ。